You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Interactive Wrestling
Reno, how you doing?
Not too bad, Swan.
Oh, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. The first question we have for you from the fans, they want to know what you've been up to lately.
What I've been up to?
Yep.
Right now, taking some time off. Been working out here in Vegas. Actually starting to train again and start fighting again. As far as the wrestling goes, originally took a break. Me and my wife, we had a little baby girl. And she's about a year and a half old now. And really didn't want to be on the road 6 days a week like it was when I was brought over to WWE. WCW, if it was still going on today, I would still be doing it basically. I mean, the work week was schedule was very easy. Our work week was whatever, 1, 2, 3 days a week, and then you were home the rest of the time. I was able to take care of business at home, but as of things were with WWE, it was just, the first 6, 8 months we were in Cincinnati and Louisville, Kentucky, straight, and then it went from that to being on the road 5, 6 days a week. It was just, once my wife got pregnant, it was just a little bit too much. I've been waiting. I waited 30 years to start having my family, so I didn't want to miss any of it.
Well, congratulations on the birth of your first child.
Thank you very much.
In reading up on your background for this interview, I read up a piece of information saying you was an undefeated kickboxer. Is this true?
Yes.
What led to you wanting to leave kickboxing and join an entertainment-based sport like wrestling?
Basically, I wanted to do something similar to what I was doing. At the time, you have to understand, this was probably, I had started fighting even before UFC was even started, and even when it did first start, there was still really no money in it. It didn't matter how good you were. You're looking at back in the times when Dennis Alexio and Rick Rufus were on top, and still, the purses were not even an ounce of what boxing was. There really wasn't a whole lot of money. I was undefeated all by knockout, but still, the money wasn't anywhere to where I could make a decent living, especially starting getting married and starting a family. So,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Who actually trained you for wrestling?
Actually, I went through a couple of my friends were big wrestling fans. I wasn't really into it too much growing up, only because I was into collegiate wrestling a lot. I had wrestled all through high school and afterwards. So I really didn't get into the whole entertainment aspect of it on TV. But a lot of my friends were into it, and even when I was fighting, they would watch WCW all the time, and they started flashing a number on the screen, talking about not interviews. I apologize. Trials.
Right.
They were holding trials, and you'd call this number, and basically they talk to you and see if you're interested, and basically you had to pay your way there. And also pay for the tryout. And it was like a 3-day tryout, and so I ended up doing that. Called them up and went to Atlanta, went to the tryout, and was lucky enough to make it, and went from there. They invited me into the power plant, and from there it just took off.
In the power plant, what guys would you give credit to training? Was it Sarge and Paul Orndorff and those guys, or?
There were quite a few, actually. Not only trainers, but just people that were guys that were already in WCW that were there a lot. I learned so much from a lot of them. I mean, as far as trainers, you're talking about the original power plants. I would have to say Joey Hamilton, who was the original assassin, one of the original assassins. He basically ran the old power plant. Also Mike Winter and Sarge and let me think. Pez Watley.
Yeah.
Another one. That the three of them, they were the trainers over there, and you learned certain things from each one of them, and they were phenomenal at what they did. Each person had their own style and their own way of teaching, and with the three of them combined, it was really nice. And then even when it was taken over by Orndorff and put inside the WCW headquarters.
Right.
Same thing with Paul. I learned a lot from him. Different forms of training, different forms of professional sports training, and we were probably the best conditioned athletes in the world at the time. I mean, it was just, the conditioning was unbelievable. I mean, we were there, you're bumping 9 to 5 every day. That was our job for 2 years, bumping 9 to 5. So, I mean, we were in phenomenal shape. But as far as people teaching over there, even when we had the new one, not only Paul and Sarge were there, but a lot of the guys, like I said, who were already with WCW, who I learned so much from. Guys like Brad Armstrong and Steven Regal. Let me see who else. Eddie Guerrero, which was, you can't even imagine how much I learned from him. Even as well as them, the other guys that I was going through the camp with, you'd also learn off of them. Also, it was just it was a great place. It really was a great place. We learned a lot. For sure.
Excellent. How do you answer critics that say that the Natural Born Thrillers, including yourself, were not ready to be brought on TV when you are?
Actually, I'd have to disagree. We were more than ready to hit TV. As far as athletes, maybe not as far as entertainers, because the way they threw us in, they basically threw us in. At the time there wasn't a whole lot of direction, so it was kind of hard to feed off of what they were looking for. They basically threw us in a group and threw us out there because of what we could do athletically. There were so many different aspects of it. Like I said, I mean, we were thrown in the mix, and thrown into these storylines, and no one was really sure where we were coming from, what we did, what we could do. They really, and on top of that, they really didn't get a chance to see what we could do. If we had been able to be let loose against one another, I mean, if we wouldn't have been brought in together at the same, on the same team or on the same side. If we were brought in going against each other and storylines doing that, as new people just going against each other, you would have seen a caliber like you've never seen before. I mean, we had been working together for 2 years, and when we were down in the power plant, I mean, there were so many things we had come up with. I mean, so many of these guys were just so innovative. It was just unbelievable, the things that we could do against each other. It was just phenomenal, which is why we were thrown down there so quickly, because of the whole fact when Bischoff was in there, he basically knew what was going on down there, and he basically kept his foot on us, whether it was the plans later on down the road, but it had gotten so long before anything would happen. I mean, it was just very discouraging being down there, because we were just down there rotting.
Right.
I mean, that's how, it got to the point where that's what we did all damn day. After a year and a half, 2 years, we were just, that's how we got to become so innovative, because we kept coming up with new shit. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And once when Bischoff was gone, and Terry Taylor had brought Russo down, he said, I really need you to come down to the power plant and take a look at these guys. And we put on a little show for him, and for Terry Taylor and also Vince Russo. Mm. And once he saw what was down there, he basically told Terry, he said, you know, what are these guys doing here? And get them on the show now. So he did. But it was just, it was like, you know, what do we do with them, and where do we throw them in? And so, you know, I mean, when people say that we weren't ready for TV, we were more than ready for TV. It was just the direction. There wasn't a whole lot of direction on what we were doing. You know what I mean? And especially when we were thrown in a bunch of guys all together, new coming in, right, and not knowing what to do. You know, I mean, if we would have been, you know, a couple guys would have gone with this guy, a couple of guys would have gone with this guy. You know, somebody that had been on TV for a long time and really knew, you know, could help us out on what direction, right, whatever storyline was going on or whatever, you know, however they wanted us to act, it would have been a lot better. Right. You know what I mean? So when they say as far as being ready for TV, I have to agree in one aspect and disagree in another.
And just to throw this one in here quickly, because you mentioned him, how did you get along with Vince Russo?
I got along great with him. I mean, he was, a lot of people don't like him. You know, everybody has their different reasons, you know. I mean, if the guy liked you and treated you great, then you liked him. You know, if he treated you like shit, then the people like that didn't like him. You know, and people like Hulk Hogan, where, you know, I mean, once Bischoff was gone, I mean, they were all boys together, and a lot of those guys didn't want to see us come up because they knew they had been down there and they knew what we could do. So I think they weren't real enthusiastic about us being on there.
So you think they were intimidated?
When you're seeing guys like Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare, who are 6'6" and almost 300 pounds, and they're flying around like Rey Mysterio, you know, they really weren't too keen on that, you know.
One of the guys that you might throw in as being one of the Hulk Hogan types was Kevin Nash, who they ended up putting as your coach. How'd you get along with Kevin Nash?
Kevin Nash was phenomenal with us. He is probably one of the last true, what we would call one of the boys. He was, you know, he lived for it. He lived for the sport. He lived for the entertainment aspect of it. When he saw us come in, you know, a lot of the guys, although were very cool to us, at the same time, you know, as soon as you turn your back, they're snubbing their nose at us because we were, you know, at the time green as far as being on TV.
Right.
We certainly weren't green as far as the sport went, but as far as being entertainers on TV, we were very green. So, you know, we got a lot of that, but Kevin was cool as hell. You know, I mean, he literally, I mean, the storyline came basically from real life, from the way he was, the way he took us under his wing, and, you know, all these guys, all these superstars, you know, they were pretty much off doing their own thing. Kevin, we partied with him every damn night, you know, until the wee hours of the night, and we were the only ones that would. So, I mean, he literally took us under his wing and just taught us a whole lot about the business, but at the same time, you know, he was just, Kevin's a great guy. He really is. He is a phenomenal human being. We would just party with him all damn night, every night. It was cool as hell. I learned so much from him, just from stories, let alone just hanging out and having fun.
We always do word associations at the end of the show, but would you mind if we throw you some word associations of your Natural Born Thrillers members?
Sure.
All right. First name on the list is Sean O'Hare.
Unbelievable athlete.
Chuck Palumbo.
Very innovative athlete.
Sean Stasiak.
Very into himself.
Johnny the Bull.
Johnny the Bull, strength and talent.
And how about the figurehead, Mike Sanders?
Mike Sanders, big mouth.
We recently had Christopher Daniels on the show, and he kind of half jokingly spoke of basically mumbling to himself and to his friends when he saw that what he claimed as his move, the Last Rites, formed by you as the roll of the dice. Did you personally just create that on your own, or did you kind of borrow it from Daniels?
To be perfectly honest, I came up with it by myself. If he had already been using it, there could have been a million guys already using it, but, if they're not on TV, and how would anybody know if they were using it or if they had it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I can't say I'm the inventor of it, but I've still to this day never seen him use it because I've really never even seen him on TV. I've seen him a couple of times on Jeff's show on TNA.
Right.
And, but honestly, you can ask any of the other guys, any of the other guys that were inside the power plant. I basically came up with that on my own. I was practicing with one of the guys down in the power plant. Gentleman's name is Sonny Fiati.
Right.
Me and him used to work really, really well together. Unfortunately, he had left WCW before we got a shot on the show. But he had helped me with it, practice it, because it was something that I had already done in collegiate wrestling. It was a form of a gator roll, just inverted. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of doing it front ways, in front of the guy, on top of the guy, I would just bend the guy backwards and go on top of him and spin him just same way I would in collegiate wrestling.
Right.
So I had taken a lot of different styles, different things that I had done in my background, and put that into my wrestling, and that was one of the things I had come up with, and it just looked so good, and so it was just so fast and so crisp that everybody. Paul, even Diamond Dallas came down there. The one day when I was doing it, he goes, and he was the one that told me, he goes, don't do that in front of anybody else. He goes, you'll see it on TV before you get on. It was just very, the way I was able to execute it was just very fast and very crisp, and went with it. And but you could say the same as far as a lot of the other moves in my style. I took them from everything that I had previously done, and it was anywhere between collegiate wrestling and high school wrestling. Judo, kickboxing, you name it. I had all that in my background, and I put all of that into my wrestling. I could be in a match and I would hit a fireman's carry, a basic high school wrestling move, but I would do it 3 or 4 different ways during the same match. It was just some of the things that I had already done in my background and put it in. So I had actually heard that a couple of times through other people that knew that kid. But basically, I'd never heard of him, nor have I ever seen him on TV. So I couldn't tell you that I got it from him or borrowed it from him. Basically, I came up with it on my own. But from what I understand, he was doing the same thing. So, but after that,
at Fall Brawl 2000, there was an incident where Paul Orndorff was injured. What was going through your minds at that time when you saw Paul laying out in the ring?
Here we go again. Training with Paul and knowing Paul from the way we knew him, obviously we all knew he had a problem with his neck. You could just see it, the deterioration he had in his arm. It was scary. At first we had thought that, it was just part of the match. And I was actually, the funny part about it is that I was involved in that same match, and I had been eliminated before.
Right.
So I really didn't go over any of the other stuff, know what was going on after I was already eliminated. So when it happened, I really wasn't sure until I saw the guys. I think who was out there? I think it was Rey Mysterio and Chuck Palumbo, and they were going through their moves, and they were doing it around him. So I was like, okay, now I know something's wrong. you know. And then once, and on top of that, once Coach came out, and then you really knew the shit had hit the fan. I knew that he was still breathing, but I knew that he couldn't move. So it was a real, it was a scary incident, that's for sure. And on top of it, was right in my hometown, in Buffalo, New York.
You captured the WCW Hardcore title from Sergeant AWOL, a.k.a. Jerry Tootie, who recently passed away. Any memories and thoughts of Jerry?
That's a real tough subject. Jerry was one of my best friends.
I'm sorry.
So it was. I really don't have a whole lot to say other than he was a phenomenal human being, and I miss him like crazy forever. There's nobody like him. His heart was as big as he was. He was a phenomenal kid. It was unfortunate what happened. An honor to be in the ring with him, and actually when we were in the power plant, me and Jerry had we lived together all through the time when we were in the power plant in Atlanta. So I was very close with Jerry, and he was a great guy.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to have. I didn't know there would be such a touchy subject. Thank you very much for answering the question. Let me ask you this. This is going to be a tough question to ask, and this is just something that I was watching as a fan and just made no sense. You and Big Vito are brothers, and that's the gimmick. And Maria is the sister. Maria is the sister. Okay. Then you start dating Maria. What exactly was going on in Creative's mind then? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Started dating Maria?
That's what the idea that I got. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong about it.
No. They had, the storyline was, from what I recall, they had this whole thing planned out, whatever, that all of a sudden they were going to find out that me and Vito were brothers somehow, and later on, and they had put Maria as his sister. And they would start doing camera shots to where they had seen us talking together and discussing things and whatever. And later on, they did an interview with what was her name, Pam or Paula or
Pamela Paulshock.
Yeah, Pam. Yeah. And she had said that she was in the interview. I think it was during one of the pay-per-views. She was doing an interview with us, and basically was saying something like that, like, "What's going on with you guys? You know, I mean, are you guys an item or whatever?" And I told her, I said, "Pam, you're a sick bitch. We're brother and sister."
Oh.
And, so that was like the big whatever shocker or whatever you want to call it. So that was basically a storyline. Was that they were just showing camera shots of me and her talking. Behind the scenes, they'd made us, disclose that we were brother and sister also. And that's when Pam said, well, if she's brother and sister with him, or brother with him, and then your sister with him, then obviously you guys got to be brothers. And we're like, yeah, go.
Question from Franchise. This is an interesting one. Do you happen to know what she's doing now, Maria?
What's that?
Do you have any idea what Maria's doing now? This is a question coming in from the forums that I just thought I'd throw in there.
No, she was just some actor from Jersey. I think Vito knew her from out there, out back east, and she was actually used in when Vito and Johnny the Bull were tag team.
Right.
I don't know. I personally, I don't think I had ever seen it, but they did some type of a vignette where they were at some kind of a wedding.
Right.
And Maria was apparently she was the bride.
Right.
I don't know who she was getting married to or whatever the hell was going on, but they had done it so long ago that Vito had said, hey, why don't we use her again or whatever, she did such a good job for us the last time, blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty much where that came from. He suggested that we use her again as our sister.
Did you realize how close the end of WCW was coming? I mean, did you realize it was going to be closing soon, or?
Everybody had a feeling that something was going to happen. Honestly, we didn't know what, but everybody knew that something was going to happen. It was just, it was one of those things where, at the time, so many changes were happening. It got to the point where we didn't have a clue who the hell was in charge.
Right.
We didn't know who the hell was booking, who was an agent, who was, we didn't know what was going on. So, that was one of the things that I really enjoyed. It was how close most of the guys were. I mean, it really was a family. It was a joy. You know, it was like you couldn't wait for whatever Sunday to come that I was going to jump on that plane and just have, a couple of days of just complete ball busting. You know, I mean, every single one of them was a comedian. I swear to God, the one was funnier than the other one. That's how it was. The locker room, it was like a big family. Everybody did nothing but bust balls. It was hilarious. Couldn't wait to get there. And when it got like that, to where there wasn't a whole lot of direction, that was really when the boys came together and just started putting on the best show that we possibly could, without having a clue of what direction they wanted us to go in. You know, I mean, we didn't understand. Nobody knew exactly what the hell they were supposed to do, to a point, and so we would just go out there and try and have the best matches that we could put on, and the boys really came together on that. I mean, there were so many people that I felt that were really big leaders as far as being the boys.
When you say Bill DeMott?
Bill DeMott was probably the biggest one. He was just an unbelievable motivator. He was phenomenal. I mean, there wasn't one match that he wasn't at the bottom of the stairs, cracking me on the ass, telling me to, go out there and do what I do. You know, he was just unbelievable. You know, people like him and I'd have to say Ming and Brian Adams, all those guys. They were just great leaders. You know, I mean, they really knew how to keep morale going and be an inspiration. You know, also Kevin. Same thing with Kevin. Kevin would literally be like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Let's just go out there and do it. You know, and never would the smile come off of his face while he was doing it. It was just unreal. You know, those guys were phenomenal.
You just mentioned having fun backstage and whatnot, and we recently had Mighty Nettie on the show. After that interview, he pretty much spent about half an hour, 45 minutes just telling us about stories backstage and ribs and stuff. And a couple of people in the forums have just said to us, ask any future guests if they could name their favourite rib. So, would you be up for naming your favourite rib?
Yeah, there were so many of them. I don't know which one was my favorite. I don't know. I don't think I could pick one. I could tell you probably the funniest thing that I had seen, and it wasn't a rib. It was a shoot. It was. I can't remember what the hell show it was. I don't know if it was a Nitro or Mayhem or I don't know what it was. I can't remember. But I was next. I was next in line to go through the curtain, and I'm just sitting there waiting, getting ready, and the next thing I know, I see Scotty Steiner pounding the shit out of Diamond Dallas, and it's probably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely hilarious.
I heard a little bit about that.
Absolutely hilarious. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. It probably took 20 guys to get Scotty off of him. You know, and I mean, he just went out there and shot this interview. I mean, just from the hip, and just bashed his wife and him and whatever and blah blah, and all of a sudden, Dallas is in the back room and he's just going, "What the hell is this? That bullshit! I had enough of this." And he came out there and Scotty just pummeled him. It was the funniest thing I had ever seen. And then it just kept getting even funnier afterwards. Whatever. I think Dallas came in the back. came in the back of the locker room, and he's all messed up, and just got his shit and left. It was like he's taking his ball and going home. It was so funny. Oh my God, that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I laughed my ass off. As far as ribs, I don't know. I couldn't tell you which one was the best, but that was definitely the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Scotty beating the shit out of him. Oh, it was hilarious.
What were your
Double-legged him, mounted him, just started pounding the shit out of him. Oh, it was hilarious.
Wow. They should have put that on TV then, if there was funny. Okay.
Yeah, really. I wish they would have.
What were your impressions of Heartland Wrestling Association, HWA?
My impression? A couple of different things. You know, as far as learning, it was great. Only because I was down there with so many guys who were just had so much talent. You know, I mean, you couldn't help but learn from them. You know, I mean, once again, you know, getting in the ring with people like Eddie Guerrero and Dave Taylor and Steve Regal and oh God, where's my mind's going blank here? Dean Malenko, along with everybody else that I was down there with. You know, anywhere from D'Lo Brown to Val Venus, which is, let me tell you something about Val. Val is one of the most rounded entertainers and athletes I've ever met in my life. That kid was just phenomenal. I mean, if they used him right on TV, if they just let him go, if they did like what they did with The Rock and just said, here's a microphone, go do what you do,
Right.
He would be one of the biggest stars today. He is just unbelievable. And as far as what he knows, even as much as he knows, that kid has got a brain like a sponge. Anything he could see something from somebody that had been in the business for a year, and just the way he did a move or the way it came in an entrance or something, he would soak it up like a sponge. I mean, he was just unbelievable. And on top of being a teacher, he was a phenomenal teacher. You can learn so much just watching him. He was just an all-around, well-rounded individual. That kid could do anything. I mean, if you just let that kid go, he'd be unreal. Absolutely unreal. But I mean, just guys like that, I learned so much from. It was phenomenal being down there. As far as what we were doing down there, it sucked. It was ridiculous.
Right.
So,
why do you feel that you weren't?
It goes both ways.
Why do you feel that you weren't brought to the WWE in the same way that the other natural born thrillers were? Same attitude, such.
I don't know. Basically, they were the only guys that they were taking were at the time when we first got taken over. The only guys you really saw on TV were mainly guys with some belts, you know, only because they had to. But at the same time, you know, you're also talking about 6'5" and 6'6" giants, you know, guys like O'Hare and Palumbo. They had thrown them on TV right away. The rest of us were pretty much thrown to the wayside and brought down to Cincinnati or Louisville.
Now, you also did the WWE tour and pay-per-view. How did you feel about how the WWA was organized and operated?
I really can't say too much about it, only because it was only, you know, I had only done the one show, and there was absolutely no direction. You know, there was no organization there. You know, I mean, they called Terry Taylor in the night before as the Miracle Man, you know, to come in and save the day, and which he did. You know, I mean, he did the best. He did the best he could for coming in overnight and going, okay, let me see if I can put something together for you. You know, I mean, Terry's got a hell of a mind. He's the same thing with them, you know, as Russo. A lot of people hate him, a lot of people love him. You know, personally, you know, he's a cocky son of a bitch, but he's able to. You know what I mean?
Right.
The guy's got a mind like I can't tell you. You know, I mean, he knows his shit. Put it that way. He knows his shit.
Any chance of seeing you on NWA TNA?
Possibly. You know, me and Jeff are pretty good friends, and you know, we've gone through some things together, and he had actually asked me at one point to come on the show, but it just wasn't financially feasible for me. You know, what I'm doing here in Vegas is, you know, I'm just money was just way too good. I couldn't. It was a little bit hard to leave it just to go over there, you know, for a few $100 every Wednesday. It just wasn't feasible. You know, if you got something going, if you got something really decent going, I wouldn't mind being a part of it. But at the same time, I'd also have to think about it, because like I said before, I really I enjoy being home. I enjoy being home with my wife and my daughter.
Right.
And if it was something where I had to jump on the road again for a long period of time, I don't think I would do it.
Did you manage to catch the inaugural TNA Impact?
I didn't. I did catch about 5 minutes of Jeff on the Best Damn Sports Show, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. I was laughing my ass off. Jeff's a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that when we were in WCW he's so down to earth. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're nobody, or I shouldn't say nobody, because nobody's a nobody. But if you were brand new into the business, or you were a legend already, you know, he really didn't treat you any differently. He was always very nice, very cordial, very down to earth. You know, I mean, he was the easiest guy in the world to talk to. And at the same time, he's one hell of a practical joker. He's a funny guy. I wish the best for him. He really is a hell of a guy.
Now, before we hit the wrap up with the word associations, a question for you that the forums have submitted, just to find out basically the man behind the character as such. What CD is in your stereo right now?
What CD is in my stereo? Honestly, I'm going through a little as I'm hitting a little over 30. I'm starting to have, and having my daughter. I'm going through a little I don't know what you want to call it, pre-midlife crisis, or starting to relive my childhood. But right now, I'm sitting here listening to Pink Floyd.
Cool.
If that means anything, yeah, I don't know.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, James definitely approves. I can just. One thing I want to ask you this: have you heard the Macho Man CD?
Have I heard the what?
The Macho Man's Randy Savage did a rap CD. Have you heard any of that at all?
No, I haven't.
Believe me, you don't want to.
I know he hired one of my real close friends, Alan Funk, who did Clee and the Funkster.
Right.
We're same thing with a lot of the guys. We're still very close. And Alan had told me that he called him up and he wanted him to do the Hulk imitation on it. So I guess he did. So I heard it was pretty funny.
Oh my God. I didn't even know that. We're actually going to do an interview with Alan pretty soon, so we'll have to ask him about that.
Oh, you got it. And let me tell you, Alan's one of the best characters in the world. Let me tell you, he's another one. You know, it's a shame. It's a shame his career went in the direction it went to. Because let me tell you, he's another one. That kid could be the most entertaining person in sports entertainment today. He's one of those guys like Val or The Rock or somebody like that. You could literally just stand on the mic and or nothing, or just put him on camera and just let him go. He's the only guy I know that can actually have a 10-minute match by himself. It's just unbelievable. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal entertainer, and it's too bad he's not doing it right now, because let me tell you, he's unreal. He is unreal.
Before we close out, do you mind if we do some word associations, just throwing some names that we didn't throw at you yet? Dan, you want to take them, or should I?
Yeah, I'll go for it. Okay. First on the list, Big Vito.
Big Vito? Is it a one-word thing or?
You could, if you want to tell a story, feel free.
I heard he was on some kind of love boat dating thing before. I was just laughing my ass off. I said,
I've not heard this. Can you explain it any more at all?
Some kind of like blind date thing or something, where you know the things they have on TV, but they do it on a boat. Oh God, I heard it was hilarious.
Oh, I think I know. Shipmates, I think it's called. Shipmates.
Yeah, that was it. He was on that. It was hilarious.
Oh my God.
Funniest thing you've ever seen in your life.
The second on the list is Booker T.
Booker T, greatness.
Chronic.
Chronic?
Yeah.
So you said Chronic?
Yes.
There's just too many words for them. I don't know. Brian Adams is actually a really close friend of mine. And,
Brian Clark.
I'd just say awesome. I mean, just you say between their size and their strength and their abilities, I mean, they are awesome.
Eric Bischoff.
No words for him. Really don't know him, and from what I see of him, I really can't stand him.
Hulk Hogan.
Legend.
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. One hell of a businessman.
Ric Flair.
Dirtiest player in the game.
And the final one I've got for you, Bill DeMott.
Oh, God. That's a tough one. It really is. Because there's just too many words that describe that individual. He is just a phenomenal human being. That's all I can tell you.
And I'll just throw one last one at you. How about Sarge?
Sarge?
Yeah.
Sarge is bad as hell. Sarge is awesome. I love him.
Right. Everybody seems to have different opinions on him, so I thought I'd throw him in there. Well, excellent. This has been an absolutely incredible interview. We can't thank you enough for your time.
Oh, anytime. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And is there anything you'd like to promote, or any website, or anything out there that you would like to get the fans to know, or any words for your fans, anything like that?
Currently, as far as website, I'm really not doing anything. I'm just starting to train again to start doing some more NHB stuff. I miss wrestling a lot. I miss WCW. I miss the way it was when I was with them. I thoroughly enjoyed being an entertainer, being an athlete, and I really didn't want to do anything else other than that once I got into it, because it was such a great thing to do, and the people were just phenomenal. And I miss it a lot. I would love to do it again, but the way things are now and what I see on TV, I really wouldn't want any part of it. I would much rather get back into the real aspect of fighting. I've always enjoyed that and still enjoy that, and I think that'll be the route I take.
This is the above average Mike Sanders, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.